So earlier today, I'm in the park, and that Sawyer motherfucker starts screaming, "That might be the pervert," knocks me the fuck down, and then tries to arrest me, detain me, chases me down, and I'm fucking losing my mind over it. I really am. This is the PD.
Was this like a new person that didn't know you were mayor, or?
He is a relatively new hire, yes.
I mean, regardless if I'm the mayor or not.
He shouldn't be tackling you without you questioning. Yeah.
Exactly. And I did ask him that. You heard that. You missed this, Archie, but when Judge Grayson was announcing the lawyer program, him and Tyler all go, "What's a lawyer?" Yeah. We got a serious problem on our hands. I want to let you in on something else as well. Ventura Matt married Cassie, who's a member of the Saints. This happened about 3 nights ago. Now, granted, we've got the Rat Act, but there's a bigger concern at play. Multiple off-duty Blaine County officers. Automatic firearms were pulled out during the wedding.
By them? Or at them?
By, like, the bride's maids. Like, members of her gang had automatic weapons out.
I mean,
like, as a show of display.
Yeah, they were out in public at a wedding. They were basically pulling a 52 gun salute with guns that they should not be having while they're off duty.
No, the criminals.
No, the criminal.
The Saints had them.
Yeah, the Saints.
Yeah.
Oh, and then the police did nothing about it.
Correct. I don't see any warrants. No docket postings. But this is the state of the city that we are currently in. We got literal gangbangers trifling their way into Los Santos County and targeting other members of our society while turning a blind eye to those that they favor. You combine that with the current state of LSPD. You combine that with what is relative inaction, and we have a recipe for disaster. So now I'm at wit's end, and I think maybe something drastic may be necessary, and I'm willing to make those drastic decisions. However, they still need to be planned, and let me explain what that means exactly. Earlier, before Tsunami, I announced that we are opening up interviews for all positions within Los Santos County. And to expand on what that means is, regardless of what the position may be, let us start accepting interviews and seeing if said individuals can fulfill a role, in hopes that maybe they could fulfill a role that we desperately need and do not realize. Now, it was brought to the topic of conversation came up yesterday with Tilly. She made me crash out a bit, but I had floated the idea because the topic came up. We had a therapy session, myself, Daisy, and Peters yesterday, and honestly, it was sort of mixed signals between it being an intervention to being about me or not about me. It was parts of it was confusing.
I think that was partially my fault. It's the more people are in a session, the harder it gets for it to stay on track and address everyone's concerns. I
Yeah.
think having lots of superfluous people there, I just wasn't able to control the session as much as I needed to.
And I and which is fine. I think even for myself, I would say that I, you know, I wouldn't really blame you too much for it because it was hard to read the intent of what it was. But there is something that kind of stood out to me, and that was a statement that Nino, can be rather cryptic to both Peters and Daisy. And I didn't take that with too much. I didn't let it hit me too much. However, I later called Daisy and I asked her if she feels that way with the majority of our conversations, and she said yes. My concern with it is I read that as an excuse. And that's when it began to affect me, because every recent conversation and in the past has usually resulted in her saying, I am going to do this. This is my plan. And then that plan doesn't come through. So, in other words, from her own admission in those conversations, she not only understands, but claims to have a plan and wants to go forward with the plan, but then doesn't.
Devil's advocate, it may be that she intends to and even starts to go forward with those plans, but hits some sort of snag she didn't anticipate along the way. You know, bureaucratic shit, staffing issues, whatever it may be, that's not necessarily 100% in her control.
I agree, and I think the leeway that I've provided, given, number one, I still believe that she is the only choice for chief of police. There are no other options. I can't think of a single candidate among both PDs that could do a better job with the hand that she has been dealt. However, I am concerned that she is now using an excuse for her failures. And I want to be very specific about what I mean by failures. These are failures just as right now we are failing to pass legislation. While those failures are not directly our fault and there's nothing we can do about it, they're still a failure, right? Because we owe it to the people. In the same sense that there are failures within the LSPD that are outside of our control. But I am not comfortable with it being mitigated with the excuse of it being on us, on it being on me, due to riddles, and not pointing at the fact that there is a lot of incompetence within the LSPD. She is taking on more on herself instead of building up the LSPD. And she is not made decisions to tell PCSO to fuck off. The last thing she told me was that she's going to start focusing on LSPD and LSPD only. Yet that is still to come to fruition, and it's been weeks. So I think another conversation, a open and honest conversation, is necessary. Number one, is she still interested in being chief? Number two, does she need things in writing? Number three, what's actually going on? Because I think if we do not resolve that, we open ourselves up to, I mean, there's a possibility, like, because I don't know what she, like, where this is stemming from, for all I know, she may have given up and we don't even know this. Right?
I mean,
hopefully that's not the case,
possible, but
I mean, she sounds defeated. Not gonna lie, just her tone of voice, but
yeah, she does. And based on what she said yesterday, and even what she said coming up to us today, because I sent some flowers and alcohol and things out to Moss, Peters, and Maxwell, just being like, hey, thanks for all the hard work, kind of from me in the mayor's office, and you know, you're doing great, blah blah. Just to kind of help with that, because I know Moss for sure is kind of struggling with feeling herself like she's not doing a good job. So I think some of that just kind of stems from her own lack of confidence in herself and probably needing more reassurance that she is, you know, doing the best she can with the cards she's got. And you know, if you don't necessarily want that to be your responsibility, that's understandable. But I feel like just reassuring her once in a while, or you know, giving her that sort of praise, I guess, or whatever, you know, might be helpful for her.
I agree.
I personally feel like Moss in her current state would be perfect if we were in a situation where the both PDs were actually working together within their jurisdictions and actually doing things appropriately. But because we have hostile elements within the PD and she is just not used to having to stand up to that, it's really undermining anything she's trying to do.
Yeah.
I wholeheartedly agree, but that leads me. I'm actually very much like that's how I look at it as well. My concern is that she needs a bully and she doesn't have one, because she is constantly. I'm gonna take, for example, the most recent conversation and draw it back. This investigation on Snow and Hydra, right? There's a lot that went sideways with it. Most particularly, she had two departments. You had Blaine County that had responsibility over the investigation, and instead of assisting, they instead went to the marshals. And then the marshals have now dug in to effectively assist with the felony obstruction. In any other legal institute across the United States, literally they would all be in jail right now, right?
Yeah.
You don't. If there was wrongdoing, that investigation would take place at a high level and would not bring itself into the court of law, because right now, had this happened anywhere else, Hydra should have been let go. The evidence is now tainted. Some of this isn't known to the judges, everything that's transpired. I also think that internally between the marshals and BCSO and whatever, I don't think they have enough comprehension of law to understand how bad it really is from the way that they acted. But regardless of all this, Daisy is the primary investigator while Den is on LOA. And for some reason, she feels obligated to run this out because of all the hard work people put into it. But she, in my opinion, does not see that other people's hard work does not mean that she takes on the burden. If it was hard
not
work,
wanting to let it die, but
yes,
she shouldn't have to be doing it herself.
Yes, and I think
the
her
chief
doing
of
it
police,
herself
being
is a
lead
weak position.
She needs to delegate that out.
Exactly.
At her level within the PD, day-to-day operations like investigation are not her responsibility.
Yeah. And from go ahead.
I was just gonna say, honestly, I feel like we probably could at some point get the lawyers together, or a group of lawyers, and actually maybe train a couple members of the PD to actually know what the fuck they're doing, and that would help avoid some of these situations to some extent.
The thing is, though, right, that when we first brought in Daisy, training and rebuilding up was her, was what she wanted to do, but none of it really came to fruition. Now, I will say that, once again, just as us, her and Peters have been bullied, right? That's why I crashed out on Bones. I'm not going to let that happen in front of me anymore, right? They've paved their road. Everything that comes at them is quite deserved. The most recent of which, they wanted to work with LSPD, simmer things down, and then this dumb cunt goes in, signs off for a bunch of transfers into his department. Fuck out of here, right? That's some extreme underhanded shit. The problem is, though, and this goes back, is there's a difference between forgiving and bending over, right? And I don't know. I almost think we almost need like performance reports or something. I don't know. I'm a bit at loss, really, because going back to what I was first saying is, I think we need to understand where her headspace truly is at. And then make an assessment based on that.
Do you want me there with you whenever you have that conversation with her?
Yeah, we can. I think that's a good idea.
Because if nothing else, I can at least kind of see if I can evaluate what she's saying and provide some insight that you might not catch.
Yeah.
And I mean, worst case scenario, I can kind of mediate between the two of you if needed.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like I said, like at the forefront, I don't see a better option than Daisy. Quite frankly, I think she's done better than most would in her position. However, I'm concerned that she's gonna just quit, right? And it's better that we know that in advance than it coming sideways, and then we have to, you know, reassess. Now, hopefully that's not the case, but like I said, the responses were odd, and it got me thinking. So,
you want me to just become a cop, and then you can appoint me chief?
I need you all to know I bit my tongue in that briefing room so fucking hard when they were like, maybe you should be negotiating with people, Maeve. You sound like you know what they're thinking. And I wanted to be like, maybe that's why I applied to be a cop, but you guys didn't hire me. So snooze, you lose, I guess.
Yeah. I'll be honest, I tend not to get too invested in the PD. It's just not really an area of interest. But my opinion of Moss, for what it's worth, is that she is too focused on appeasement. I think she's too worried about potentially hurting anyone's feelings, and she just needs to be more divisive in her decision making.
Yeah.
She's never going to be divisive or even decisive if she doesn't start having confidence in her own abilities. I think that's where a lot of this stems from, is that she is worried that she is doing a bad job. She's worried other people think she's doing a bad job, and so she's hesitant to act because what if she does something that will cement that belief that she is doing a bad job?
Is there anything that we can do, though, to help get her out of that shell without outright coddling her?
Well, that's exactly the issue, right? Is she came to chat with me the other day, I was pissed with things that we're dealing with in this office, and somehow she sort of took that as it being about her, despite me being clear that my issues are not very much with LSPD. And I feel like she may be misdirecting all the negative energy that has come her way and now is looking to direct it our way. And that is an extremely dangerous recipe.
Yeah.
So the truth be told, LSPD also has not really broken out of the shell of cops versus robbers, right?
Yeah.
And I did bring this up with Tilly yesterday, that I don't think that's a cultural shift that we're necessarily going to be able to resolve. Because, I mean, transparently, I think everyone that gets hired in is looking to shoot people and put them in jail. Yep. So I don't even think you can really resolve that even.
No, even the ones
look how Tylenol and Sawyer left the meeting today.
Yeah, even the ones who come in and weren't looking to just shoot people, they're going to end up adapting to the culture to fit in. So.
Of course,
yeah, 1,000%. I mean, even at a higher level, I mean, is that perhaps why Bones has no backbone, right? Cassidy has no backbone. They let other people run their department because it becomes a battle of keeping your numbers up rather than doing what's right.
There's that, but I'm going to be honest, like, Bones tries to act innocent. I've seen him in a couple of different conversations with members of PD here when I've been, like, trying to get a FOIA or trying to go for a cell rep. And it's like the words that he uses, he's underhanded. He knows what he's doing. He knows what he's saying. He acts like he doesn't, but he knows. He's Ventura is similar, but Ventura is much worse at hiding it.
Could you expand on that? I kind of agree.
It's all right. It's simple things like him whenever he's if he talks to a member of PD and he's talking about things going on in BCSO, like back when we were having the issues of trying to get them to actually stay up in Blaine County, he'd be constantly going like, but we've got the numbers. You need our numbers. You need us. You need us.
Oh,
you need us.
yes. Agreed.
And it's like, yeah, sure, technically you're not wrong about that, but also that problem was created by you allowing it to happen.
Yes. That's exactly it. I mean, the thing is, I think there's obviously a lot of there's a lot of shitty behavior that a lot of people function on don't bring up the past, even though the past represents your position today, right? And I think he leans on that. Well, I did this already, so you can't use that against me, right? Well, you can, and you should, because we're fucking adults and we're not children, right?
It's fine to forget, but you don't forget what they've done.
Yes, exactly. Or its relationship with like how we've gotten here, because otherwise it just keeps on happening.
Yeah, I was like, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think Maeve, see if we can set something up, and we should have that conversation, I think, in advance to at least understand her position, and where she is. And I think that we need to be a lot more stronger-handed at this point, at least in understanding what her plans are and getting her to commit. I think that's all we need is commitment. And if we can't get commitment, I don't mean on anything in particular, commit to something, right? Otherwise we can't really evaluate ourselves. You know what I mean?
The only other suggestion I could put in as far as Moss goes off the top of my head would be to very specifically ask her what her vision is, what she wants done, and how we in the mayor's office can support that and make it actually happen so she doesn't feel like she's having to push for all this by herself.
Support it and track it. Right?
I think just identifying if she has any needs from us at all that we're not meeting can also be helpful. I'm not saying that we have to meet those needs, but it will be helpful for her to communicate, well, I'd like to see, you know, more of this from you, or it would be nice if we could have a meeting once a week, or whatever, you know, she needs, and then we can evaluate if those needs align with your vision for the LSPD and go from there. And, you know, if those are things we can accommodate, or maybe if we want to start trying to look for a better fit or whatever. She should be given the opportunity to express those needs and see if it's something we can meet.
I agree with that. I like that. Like, realistically, I mean, outside of the clowns talking about her being a puppet, I don't think she's actually fulfilled any of our desires to begin with, right? So I don't even know if we're at a point to be like, we are looking for this. Because I don't even know what that would be. I mean, please correct me if I'm wrong. Like, Michael Archie, especially, like, you've been around for 4 months. What is there something that we've asked but did not? I feel like we've mostly been giving and we haven't received shit.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, anytime that she ever does let me rephrase this a bit. Anytime that the PD ever does anything that we did want, usually it's a half-ass version of it, that it doesn't really go as far as we feel it needs to, which I can understand compromise to some extent, but that also undermines it, dilutes the entire message and the point of it, and that's a problem.
Yeah, there was the certs, right? But that happened like in the 11th hour because we now had helicopters. I don't like to function that way. We can't plan for something changes in the city. There's no growth otherwise. No. Shit. Yeah, I think Maeve, I would see, because she said she's not going to be around for a while. I think we need to establish this and make this a weekly check-in. Yeah. And I think we need a way to track progress. And we let her make the commitments, but have some sort commit to something. What is she aiming to do? and a way that we can track it, even if it's just via conversation. So,
I mean, we could even do just something like, I don't know if it doesn't necessarily have to be our Trello board, but something, you know, like maybe her own Trello board or something, or if she wants a little section ours, I don't know how you want to handle that. But like,
I
like,
don't want to
just like a
burden her
visible
with too much like
list.
specifics, but, you know, it's.
I mean, she was crying because Peter's uninstalled Excel, so I think she likes, you know, organization.
Oh, true. Yeah, that is true.
Why would he uninstall Excel?
Yeah.
Because he's jealous of Trig. It's complicated.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, this is yeah, we need something. Like I said, the last 4 weeks have been worse than the weeks prior. And this may, yeah, I think let's do that. Let's have a honest conversation with her.
Sure.
So okay. I got to talk to Maxwell. Do we have anything on our agenda?
I mean, right now I'm currently working on going through all the different bits of state legislation and finding anything that has been changed and making comparison document. I've got that in the legislation section in our email chain if y'all want to check that out, but I've only gotten 7 so far just because it's tedious and I have to go through each one with a fine-tooth comb.
It is, yeah. The dispensary and cultivation staff listing, that spreadsheet's done. It's in the Trello board.
Beautiful. Let me take a look at it.
Coded. So when you can set them as active, inactive, or fired, and it'll color code the line based on their status. And the intent is that each dispensary or cultivator will have their own password protected sheet within the document, so they can only see and control.
I want a singular one.
Okay, I can do that.
Yeah,
it's just as easy.
Yeah, because people barely can read, so I think the way that it should work is we control the main form. We can add dispensaries and we can add cultivation things in it. Like it should be like business hyphen cultivation, business hyphen dispensary, and they select it from the drop down. They enter the name, they enter the CID, and then they say add or remove. And then the form that gets outputted, we can just have that generate like a employee listing, right? So there'll be like the data sheet, right? But then you have another sheet that imports that information, right? And just figures it out, right? So that way that can be public. So anyone can look at it and be like, this is the official employee sheet for all businesses.
Okay, so should they be able to see their own roster then? Or is it strictly just this add remove
Everyone can
form?
see every business and every roster, pretty much. Okay. So you look at that one thing and you're like, these are all the businesses. I know whether it's cultivation or dispensary. And that's why I want it like in the same title, right? Like it'll be like, you know, just blaze it hyphen dispensary. So that no one can really mess up on the form either, if that makes sense. So
okay, I might have to
I can help you with that if you want. Like
I'm thinking what the easiest way to do it is, if I do it all in sheets or if I do it as a combo, like forms outputting to a sheet, you know what I mean?
So to run you through the process, like if you did business in a drop down and then there was a name and then a CID, right?
Yeah.
And then you say like a drop down for add or remove. When you hit submit, that goes into the audit log, right?
Yeah.
And then in the third sheet, you can do a conditional statement.
Yep.
Which effectively says, iterate through this and add one to the variable, minus one from the variable, depending on, like, it's a little complicated, but like to do it kind of, but not really. If you haven't done that last part, if you put the form together, I can always do the output and show you how to do it. Yep.
I mean, I've done forms for the lumberjacking business where will enter in a number and I'll code it. So when you hit a button, it'll either add or remove from our inventory based on the sale.
Yep.
So I can probably do it because it's probably along the same lines, right?
Yeah, the main thing is it needs the audit log, right?
Yeah.
So every action is kept there with a date timestamp, so that if someone removes someone at this time on this date, the police, the judges, everyone has that information, so there's no like fuckery. I'd say let's leave it at that, and then we can tackle the bigger stuff tomorrow. But yeah.
Did you attend the deposition? Was that open to the public?
I went to the deposition. It was bad.
Bad in what sense? Like bad for Pred or bad for the judicial system in general?
So in regards to the Hydra case, PD looked rather weak. Understandably, right? Like, not only the bad look of the chief of police having to run it, right? But the second aspect of it is, she's not going to have all the information. You know what I mean? She's coming in at the top of the 12th. But I will say that she's removing some of the charges to kind of, it's a bad look, right? Like the key investigators aren't there, and there can't be excuses for that. That actually, it's the same problem I have with the DOJ just disappearing, right? Because for some reason, I feel like the concept of like, bro, you have people on a fucking rope, you know? They're on like a fucking, they're playing hangman here. You're holding their lives above a fire, and you know, you're saying, oh well, these people are busy. Well, then they shouldn't be pressing the charges. You know, you get what I'm saying? Like and I feel like I'm speaking like in like hieroglyphics to get that point across. Like imagine, and maybe it's because they haven't experienced these things in their life before, had friends and family or whatever, but like literally a lot of Hydra's life is shut down right now. Right? In the same way that Pred's life is currently shut down. The same way that my life and y'all's life is very much shut down. And the excuse of, well, they're busy is not acceptable. If you take on a responsibility and like an investigation, whatever it is, you have to complete that before you can fuck off. You know what I mean?
If I was going to leave for more than 2 days, I would go to y'all. I'd list out all the things I'm working on and hand over the details so somebody else could get on it if need be.
Exactly. In regards to the... Now, in that case... Oh, in the Pred case, it was equally bad. The first thing that I noticed that really had me raise my eyebrow was Sparks so Peters went up and Peters was asked to reference some reports out of the MDT. Typical, right?
Yeah.
Sparks brought up the objection that if Peters, the assistant chief, was an expert witness, then he should have been prepped before the trial. And it should have been noted he was coming in as an expert witness. The judge agreed.
Oh my fucking God.
I've never seen that in this city, like ever.
Now, normally that would be like, shut the fuck up. But instead, and this is kind of the tough part because Tony's still kind of a baby attorney. Should have kept back and said, no, this is dumb, right? But, you know, Tony, understandably, he's still learning, like, court stuff. right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so I feel like he kind of felt obligated to accept what the judge was saying. Like, and this is the confusing bit. It wasn't clear whether the judge was saying, hey, what's your response, to give an opportunity for an obvious answer of like, this is how we do things. But instead, Tony kind of just went with the, okay, I'm, you know, I like, I don't know. Regardless, it is now kind of set a precedent, which is so easily abusable by referencing this call card and saying, like, anytime you go to a court case, you reference the, you reference the Pred case and a justice making this ruling. And pretty much any time a cop goes up on the stand and needs to look at something, you question whether they're an expert witness.
Yeah,
He was
yeah,
treated
yeah.
like a layman.
Okay, yeah, I was about to ask that. Okay,
Yeah. So
that turns
I'm
every
not even-
police statement into a he said, she said.
yes. So now I think generally it's really good for everyone who's not a law enforcement,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah.
because now they're fucked. I mean, it self fucks the marshals.
I wouldn't be surprised if judges started saying that they're not going to entertain that to try to cover up for that, but still.
Yeah, agreed. It's very odd. And just for the sake of making sure everyone's on the same page, their expectation is, hey, was there blood on the scene? Whose DNA was it? You know, in other words, making references to something that you should be able to pull up. I mean, witnesses often do pull up reports. Like, who cares how much time it takes? It's necessary. But yeah. Anyways, it was an interesting deposition. So we'll see how that rolls. I have a feeling we're not going to see a verdict for another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
So
Are they still trying to like withhold stuff at this point, or have they actually turned stuff over? Because I was trying to talk to Tony about exculpatory stuff, but
yes. The updates to the docket, I managed to read through it. There is I spoke with Sonia. Sonia already told me, oh shit, do you guys have any food?
yeah, I got stuff. Hold on.
We already believe that Pred was unjustly targeted, specifically his warehouse, with the knowledge in advance that there was probably weed inside. And, you know, this was based on a number of things, right? Just the way that they were moving. It didn't make any sense why you would just, like, randomly go over after the warehouse. And so I spoke with Sonia, and Sonia had already told me in so many words that she had been questioned about it in interrogation. They tried to hide her interrogation until the motion was brought up. I listened to the interrogation, and it was worse than I thought.
How is that shit not a
Sonia-
Brady violation? Sorry.
Well, Brady doesn't exist, but you can extrapolate the principles of Brady into it.
Hold on,
Now-
hold on. I thought that came out of the Dominic Rhodes case, because that was one of the things Chiffon was going for, and then Weiss was supposed to codify it.
Siobhan always had when Siobhan said that, she said it she overstated what she achieved. Right? But in this interrogation, Sonia Summers is told that they knew it was her warehouse, that it belonged to her a couple days previous, that they were looking at it for weed. It is so bad. They even went and detailed who they believe she was selling weed to from that warehouse. So how this went to the docket, I have no idea. So everything we thought they knew and couldn't perceive how they could have maliciously targeted Pred in the warehouse, it's all in recording. And Sparks tried to infer that none of it mattered, and has been stating as such. And she's also doing something very dirty on the docket, which is suggest that the information being sought is irrelevant. And as it's turning out, it is very relevant for the defense. So there is a genuine possibility that if there's information that the marshals have, that the police departments have, that they will not willfully bring it forward unless we find out it exists. Just like this Sonya tape. There's something else that happened. I'm trying to remember. It was on the back of my mind and now I've forgotten. Yes. To expand on the exculpatory exclusion in these cases, it wasn't a report was written by Espinoz titled that it was a debrief of the raid, separate from the main report. In it, it is dated the day that the request came in and the demand to compel the Sonya information. So that means that they're not even documenting. Either A, they are not documenting this exculpatory information, or B, it was in a private report. What makes it even worse is that during the trial, Tony tried to get Tyler to speak on access to private reports. And unfortunately, it was objected, and he couldn't drill down the very important line of questioning as to whether or not marshals may have or investigators may either be hiding things in private reports or in marshal reports of which no one would be able to discover and therefore FOIL. So it's pretty bad. It's like the justices, it feels like the DOJ a lot I don't know. It feels like it's a rigged game, right? Where the designers of the rules don't even understand like basic procedure.
Yep.
And when I look at the entire court case, I'm sorry I'm like yapping so much. I'm trying to jog my memory on everything that happened. Is that throughout that entire situation, I'm just thinking to myself, why isn't any of this procedure written down? I mean, for example, Ajax was told that they weren't sure if he could actually represent Pred as a paralegal. And they went on, and the justice went on to say, we don't have any programs for paralegals, so therefore leave. And so that kind of concerned me a bit, because it's like, when are these? So you're allowed to make these motions about expert witnesses and entertain it, and that's undocumented, but you're not allowed to have Ajax there. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, so
it's like hidden rules when it's convenient, and then it must be written when it's convenient. It's scuffed.
Yeah, best of my knowledge, there never was a proper system for paralegals here in this city, because I just kind of came around and started talking to lawyers and asking questions, and eventually started calling myself a paralegal.
And I want to be clear, I don't believe Hollow did anything wrong, right? I don't put it on him. I look at it more as this system is fucked. Yo, Bunny, thank the 11 months. Is that
11 months of the best RP content on Twitch Fair B.
And I'm genuinely not convinced that's why I fuck with Grayson. Like, look, she's out there trying to fix this lawyer shit. More power to her, right? I wish there was more of her. And I think that's kind of the moral of the story on a lot of issues that we're hitting. It's just right now the positions are filled by people that are uninterested, right?
I mean, that's a common enough story anywhere too. By the time you reach the top and you put in all the work to get there, a lot of times you're burned out. Like, but the problem is that people don't identify that, and then, they just continue to half-ass their position.
Yeah, it's sort of like it's the same thing with the food stalls, right? Like, people can say all day, man, I want food, but people are uninterested to run it anymore, right? I think a lot of
Seafood
officers are
stalls, I have a thing about
uninterested
that,
in policing properly.
Mhm.
So it's become a goddamn playground. Anyways, Maeve, could you give Daisy a call, see if we can set something up?
Yes.
We should probably see if we can do that in the next like 30 minutes or so.
I'm happy to stick around here for as long as you want to need me, but either way, I'm going to end up going back and combing through the legislation some more.
Yes, I did see the document we're working on. It's really good.
It's a start. And also, if anybody does not like my formatting and wants to switch it around, let me know. I'll give you edit access because I format in weird ways, and I'm fine with somebody fixing it.
Yeah. I would say use H1, H2, H3. It's a good way to. It's like built into Word and whatever to make sure you can make like tables and shit.
I'll probably have to look some of that stuff up.
I can show you.
She didn't answer.
I got you. Okay. See. Okay. Do you want to reach out to her and see if we can schedule something for today?
Yeah, I'm gonna send her a text because she didn't answer my call. So.
Okay, beautiful. She does answer emails if you want to send that. And yeah, I think the sooner we do that, the better.
I know her email.
You should be able to see it through the government overarching email system.
Yeah, give me a minute.
Like I said, I think the goal there should be evaluating where her mind space is and then setting expectations. I think that's going to be healthy for both of us so that she knows when she's succeeding in our eyes, but vice versa, we know that she's aiming. And I think, I don't know, I feel like that's what's needed right now. Both in terms of her doubting herself, but in terms of in case she's sort of like, I don't know. Yeah.
That should definitely be a Maeve or you or somebody else that ends up talking to her about any of that. I'm good at PR when it comes to the general public and dealing with people outside of my organization. When dealing with people who I would consider peers, I tend to be very blunt and very straight to the point, which does not go well. Some of the time, people get feelings hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
You just want the meeting as soon as possible, right, Nino?
Yeah, ideally today. Yep.
Also, side note, if any of y'all know anyone trying to buy an Astrope, let me know. I'm trying to sell it so I can buy something else.
Not a car guy.
Yeah, I'm not either. I just want something that I don't have to use as a stick shift, because while I've learned how to do it now, I don't like it.
I think I might even have an automatic transmission sitting in my house. You want that? If I can find
then
it.
I gotta pay to get it installed, and it's gonna go bad in a month anyway. It's not worth it.
Yeah, fair enough. Just buy a four-wheeler.
I mean, I should do that anyways, but I like to have a nice little four-door sedan that I can, carry around people in when need be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did the same.
All right, I shot her an email.
All right, easy. Okay, I am going to have a. Let me know if you guys need anything. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have just a quick thing if you have just a
Yes,
minute.
absolutely.
Regarding the I know we're stalled in this at the moment, but regarding the government food stall, I went over to the food court yesterday, and DOC was doing a work release for the inmates, and they've been trying to do that more often lately, of bringing them down to the food court to work, and they were actually having them work in a stall. Seamus said that they're trying to focus on doing that more. So I know Blaine County currently has legislation up for commissary and work releases. It might be a interesting way to sort of partner on that somehow. If we can have them work the government subsidized stall, because that will help ensure that we have more coverage of workers as well.
I don't know if we can legally even give DOC money.
Eh.
Well, they aren't getting money right now, so I mean, technically.
Well,
I don't-
they should be. Yeah, no, it's the state's responsibility. So the problem is that the DOC in Bolingbrook falls under the responsibility of the state and the justices,
Yes.
specifically Angel, and the state is responsible for not only paying them and providing for them, but the only county that even does have a direct effect would be Blaine. So
Seamus, I asked Seamus, I said, do inmates receive wages for work releases? He said, we try to do jobs that don't require funds to be transferred to their banks. At the moment, most of the funds go back to the DOC. I said, is that just to reduce administrative burden, or is there some other reason? He said, we limit funds being transferred to their banks as they can send and receive stocks and buy and sell them as a form of payment for contraband. Also, anything over $500 in cash is contraband. Therefore, at the moment, they don't receive any monetary rewards, but that could definitely be subject to change in the future. So at the moment, they're not.
I see.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, I don't think we can legally give them money. Like, what was your?
I'm not saying. I'm just saying we
Oh.
could potentially, because they're already doing like work in the food court, right? As work releases.
I feel like the problem is though, we have to go through the justices. Is my concern, and I could be wrong about this, but like, I don't know. Maybe I'm more concerned with I don't want another headache from a justice even getting anywhere near them, because it's just going to be a fucking, tantrum mixed with God knows what, despite doing something for others type shit. But it's so outside of, I want to do something, but I know the headache that's going to come with it.
Yeah, I like the idea, definitely. I think any form of rehabilitation is always going to be good. Work releases can be a way to make sure people get new skills, so if they ever do get out, they can be a contributing member to society. However, two issues like Nino already brought up, we would have to go through the DOJ to get any of that done, because they would be the people to talk to that's in charge of the actual Bolingbroke stuff. And then number two, this is a much more minor concern, but we do always have to worry about optics of prison labor, so...
True. I want to also, I was sort of short-circuiting by saying we can't give them money. Even if, like, let's say we were to buy things through our budget and then give it to the DOC, that's still, that's what I mean, like spending money in the direction of something outside of our purview. Now, once we get discretionary funding legislation passed, then we can, right? Because then we could, treat it like a donation or something along those lines. But
actually, like, if they're already doing the work done there, like, we might as well, like, because it's not like they aren't working in our county previously, like they're already there. So
there's one other thing I want to let you know, just in the event you don't know this. Prisoners are from a completely different county, and there are stipulations surrounding them that I'm not even fully familiar with, which is why dealing with them is very touchy. Does that make sense? Like, they don't have a citizen ID, right?
No, I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. So
I only know of one person who was in jail for life that ended up getting parole and moving into the city. That was the Bane guy back in the day.
There's someone else, one of the people that works for Cypress. I remember seeing her in there. What was her name?
I don't know the Cypress people too well.
Yeah, but that's the only one I know. I think the program just never kind of like took flight. Okay. All right.
I remember when we were first originally campaigning somebody that some lady by the name of Candace Johnson, CJ or something like that. She had called and want to meet with you and want to try to do some kind of parole program. And even then, at that time, we were like, I don't know if we can touch that. So
Yeah. Yeah. You know, I think there's a lot of things that want to be done, but then, you know, it goes back to someone's got to put in effort. You can't just clap your hands and make it magically happen. So, allergic to work. What is wrong with us?
Oh,
What do you mean?
we have the burden of responsibility, and we feel that we actually have to do something about it. We're compelled to work and try to make things better in spite of the fact that the majority of the factors in the world are conspiring against us. We're
What if
petty
we're
assholes.
sick? What if we're sick?
I'm an empath and a people pleaser, and I was raised to put others' needs before my own, so I let people walk all over me in order to help make their day brighter at the cost of my own mental well-being. Is that what you want?
I appreciate structure and order, and so paperwork and things of that nature actually work well for my brain, and so therefore this is the kind of work I like to do.
I'm
I have
just bored.
autism, and people appreciate when I do things for them, and I take that little hit of dopamine and I keep doing things for them because then that means I'm doing things correctly, obviously.
Yeah,
And I get praise and appreciation. Yeah, dude.
We're all neurodivergent in some way. Ain't nobody sane here.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, it just kind of struck me, you know what I mean? Okay. All right. I appreciate you guys. Let me know if you need anything, yeah?
All right. Have a good one, Nino.